Apsis Group is a European real estate developer focusing on shopping centre projects. Established in France in 1996, Apsis had several European retail-led city centre regeneration and suburban development projects. Stephen Pragnell is Group Director for External Relations at the Apsis Group in Paris. He's also an active member of the ICSC European Shopping Centre Jury, constantly travelling to follow the development of modern shopping centres. We made him pause for a moment to talk a little about changing consumer behaviour and what makes a good shopping centre.
Well, it comes to, like in all retail, it's location, location, location. It has to have ease of access. You have to be able to get to it, not only by your car, but also by public transport, even by foot. The first thing we should always do is take off our development and investors' hat off and think of ourselves as a consumer. Every one of us, every single man, woman and child throughout Europe shops at one stage in their week or their month or their lives. We have to think what we are looking for first. And the comfort factor. Where do we position the toilets? Where do we position the public areas? Where do we position the coffee houses, etc., so that it becomes a place of pleasure? The decor is so important. Now, it shouldn't be outrageous. It should be something very, very simple, in which, in fact, you feel good, it's neutral, you feel good, but it also puts into perspective the retailers. If you go to a shopping centre, it's not to look at the beautiful lapis lazuli coloured floor, it's to go shopping. So, let's stay reasonably simple. Let's stay in nice materials. Let's stay in a nice atmosphere. Let's stay in a nice feeling. Sounds, comfort is so important. And also easy access. Why should the toilets in shopping centres always be at the end of a 20-metre long white corridor? I was reading it yesterday on a website, an American website, a phrase which, in fact, I downloaded, which I found was incredibly important. They said, start with the toilets. And if you can make the rest of your centre as good as that, then you win. And it's not an obsession. I'm not obsessed by toilets. But it's just that in so many cases, I've known shopping centres where they have one set of toilets for maybe 40,000 square meters of retail. Hey, think of comfort. Where can I sit down? I'm tired. Oh, I want to sit down. Where can I do it? Nowhere. You see, I can go to a coffee shop, but I can't just sit down. Where can I leave my children? I don't really want to drag the children around with me while I'm shopping. Where can I leave them? Where can I leave my coat? Especially in Northern Europe, we've got our great big coats on. And get into a shopping centre, of course, it's heated, it's warm, it's nice. You don't want to walk around with a great big coat on. Where can I leave my coat? There are so many things. Where can I leave my shopping? Why should I walk around with my shopping bags? Okay, it's great because it's a way of us, the managers, to realise that our shopping centre is working by seeing the number of bags. But on the other hand, my comfort as a shopper, it would be lovely to have all my bags delivered to my car at the end of my shop. There are so many things. A shopping centre can, the majority of them receive at least 5 million people a year. Some much more. Our centre, Manufactura in Łódź, is virtually 20 million people a year. A mega centre in Russia, 35 million people a year. It's a lot of people. A lot of people. So you have to think in terms of these people all have different needs at different times. And you have to think in terms of their comfort. You cannot cut corners on customer comfort. And that is also what should make your centre different to your neighbouring centre. Because basically you get, in the majority of cities today, you get up in the morning and you can turn left, you go to one centre, you can turn right and you go to another. So what makes you turn left rather than turn right? Because you find yourself more at ease, you're more comfort, you're more in your peer groups, etc. There's so many elements which come into it. You have to think that the shopping centre, in fact, comes from America. I think the first European shopping centre was in Sweden in the mid-50s, if my memory serves me right. But in America, of course, a lot of towns have developed purely as residential and office places. There's very, very little retail, even in some of the major cities. I was in Phoenix recently, and you can drive for hours in Phoenix, it's an enormous city, without seeing any retail at all. But you have these mega malls, which are part and parcel of American life. And this is what was introduced into the European market. Now, was it really adapted to the market at that time? Yes, because we're talking about the mid-60s, where there are a lot of new towns being constructed, new residential areas being constructed around our cities. But we're seeing today the return to the city. Now, we're not talking about building 20,000 square meter hypermarkets in the middle of any town or city. We're talking about custom-made products, custom-made to regenerate city life, to enhance city life, also to a certain extent to enhance and regenerate the aspects of the city, the aesthetic aspects of the city. Because a lot of these projects are being done in contemporary ways, which are very, very I can't think of the word, complementary to the local architecture. So you're finding some really, really good contemporary architecture coming into the cities through these retail projects, which is enlivening the whole aspect of the town. And I think we as consumers, don't forget that you and I are also consumers. Think about how you live and how you consume when you do your shopping, where you do it, how you do it, why you do it. I think we all need the double experience. The big shop. You have your big shop. Off in the car, you want to get rid of everything. Maybe in a lot of societies, it's a weekly or a monthly shop. Not so much in the Latin societies, because we do tend to spend or sort of buy food on a day-to-day basis rather than on a weekly basis. But you want to get rid of it. The bottles of water, the toilet paper, the kitchen towels, all the stuff that bulk buy. You just want to get rid of it. You want to get it out of the way. So off you go in the car, off to the hypermarket, blum, 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 blum. It's not a nice or pleasant experience. Maybe you'll meet somebody walking down the alley with your trolley, but it doesn't really go much further than that. But you've got it out of the way. You've got your consumer products. You've got what you need. It's all piled up in your cupboards and things at home. And it's been a one-stop shop. That's one thing. But we also need this experience of actually integrating into our own towns, finding ourselves with our peer groups. Buying clothes, for example, should be a pleasure. There's the pleasure shop, there's the needs shop and the pleasure shop. We're seeing more and more projects, especially urban projects, which are really integrated into the street structure. We're building new retail streets. Now, these can be open, these can be covered. There are certain projects. I'm thinking of one in Great Britain, for example, or even in the Netherlands. There are certain projects where I'm sure that the consumers don't even realize they are in a shopping center, because they're integrated so well into the urban structure that they don't realize that just because there's a glass roof over one part of the street, the Mr. and Mrs. Consumer don't really realize that they are in what is defined as a shopping center. This is a very strong tendency, and it's a great way also of regenerating our cities with new modern retail, because one of the major problems as far as retailers are concerned today is that in a lot of cases they do not find the space that they need to be able to develop. And if, shall we say, Zara wants to open a store, they're looking at a store which is in the regions of 1,500, 2,000 square meters. And they need a certain style of space. They can't take it on 7 levels. They need a certain style of space. And of course, in urban structures, especially in some of the older cities, they just do not find this. But when you get the new style of shopping centers coming in to the cities, and then you're almost custom building, in fact, for these new retailers. And of course, these new retailers, the customers want them, the consumers want them. Yeah, Zara's coming to my city. You know, it's a lot of mayors even. You know, it's like having a badge. You know, look at me, I've got Zara, I've got this, I've got that. You know, they're ticking off the things. You know, my city's dynamic because I've got this retailer, that retailer, that retailer. You know, that's the importance also, and of course the consumers. And it also anchors the consumers to their own towns, because it gives them fidelity to their own towns. If they don't have what they're looking for, again, it's coming back to give the customers what they want and not expect them to want what we give them. If they don't find in their own town what they're wanting, then they'll jump in their car and drive where they do find it. You can't look at customer fidelity anymore. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.